last couple of years has taught me, let's give more power to the WHO and unelected bodies. Oh, that is happening. Great. Hey, you 5.6 million awakening wonders. Together we voyage forward, do we? Yes, of course we do. Not for long, though, because the WHO are going to be sticking their oar in. They're drafting new plans for pandemic preparedness, meaning that your government will lose the ability to construct their own regulation, accepting instead the WHO's edicts, like a chewed up bit of food from a mummy bird into a baby bird's mouth. If you want an image. If you don't subscribe yet, subscribe right now. Also, turn on the notification bell, and at the end, I'm going to tell you how to sign up to my mailing list community, because I do big stuff, and I've got big announcements, and I want you to, to know about it, because I need you. I need you, don't I? Of course I do. Also, if you see any little bots in the comments going, hey, sign up to my cryptocurrency thing, I'm Russell Brand. I'm not doing that. That's not me. Don't sign up to nothing. The only thing I'm asking you to do is sign up to my mailing list, right? And you know what that'll be. Don't you? Okay, let's see what's in the news. In a landmark decision at the World Health Assembly special session last week, world leaders agreed to commence negotiations on an international framework, treaty or accord for pandemic prevention, preparedness and response, ushering in new opportunities to shape the future of global health security. Firstly, I don't like hearing about any conferences where leaders are coming together, because I think I don't trust any of you lot. I've not trusted any of you lot for ages. I mean, you're all hanging about in a conference, shaking hands, backslapping, jollying each other along, ushering in new opportunities to shape the future of global health security. We're just shaping the future. That's controlling the future. What shape is it? It's sort of the shape of a boot on your face forever. The international community agreed at a special session of the World Health Assembly. What? Well, not like that. It's too much like that Budweiser thing. What's up? I'll tell you what's up. Your democracy's fucking finished. On the need to draft a convention under the Constitution of World Health Organization. So what that's saying is the WHO will be in charge. I don't remember voting for the WHO. It's interesting, isn't it? Who did you vote for? Doesn't matter. They'll be doing what the WHO tell them. The decision was made by the WHO's 194 member states, and what senior WHO officials said was an inflection point in international public health. The agreement is a cause for celebration and a cause for hope, which we will need, said WHO's Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Let it be said, decades from now, when each of us is nothing more than photographs and memories. You're going to turn into photographs and memories? Oh no, they've already been taken. We'll just be dead. Unless some of our plans for eternal life work out. How are they coming along, Bill? Looking good. That we left the world in a healthier, safer, fairer place than we found it. Bloody hell, mate. I don't think so. I think what people say is we lapsed into a terrible, technocratic, globalist agenda where ordinary people had no ability to influence democratic outcomes, where the media cooperated in keeping people distracted, numb and dumb, while the powerful funded non-democratic organisations to carry out their edicts. Whether that's for good or for bad, that's for us all to collectively decide, but it certainly isn't democratic, and it's certainly not a fairer, better world. We don't have rules of the game, Tedros says of the current situation. To manage shared problems like pandemics, you need laws and rules that bring obligations to countries. That's what we miss, and I hope countries will agree to a binding pact so that pandemics can be managed better. Nostalgic fools that we are, we always assume that the future will somehow easily resemble the past, that fascism will be Larry badges, red and black flags, and insignia of eagles. But instead what it is cosy, bureaucratic language. We're just going to shape your future. We're just going to need countries in a binding pact. Do you know what the word fascist literally means and comes from? It means bound together, tight pacts. It comes from bundles of sticks. Look it up. So fascism in the future, we now know what it will look like. Technocratic, cosy, you will own nothing, you will be happy. We're just helping you, we're doing this to help you. Cosy, colloquial, just step this way, sir. Just be quiet, just go in your homes for the benefit of everyone. I'm afraid that was a misinformation, a disinformation. Look at how it's going. If you open your eyes wide and stay alert, you can see the shapes emerging. You can see that what they mean by shape is control. And the way that control will be achieved is through cosy language and non-democratic decisions enacted at a global level, usurping the potential power of democratic nations, which have all become banal and uniform anyway. Look at your own democracy. Member states have agreed to a timeline which could lead to a legally binding treaty. That means there's laws. The more power is moved away from local, individual, community, national to global, the less power you will have, the less power I will have. We see an increase in censorship, regulation against protest, control of communication. You see what new tyranny looks like. As well as a consensus between nearly 200 nations, any agreement will require financing. Yeah, they're going to want you to pay for this stuff. They're going to want you to pay to tyrannise yourself. That'll be $50, sir. And to be effective in practice, it will need a strong international legal framework that rewards good public health behaviour and disincentivises bad behaviour with sanctions. I see what they're doing. They're inventing a metric by which to control us. And because of the type of times we live in, if it's like measurable, well, that's bad for health. You're a good citizen if you obey lockdown and you follow the procedures we suggest to you. You're a bad citizen. Good and bad behaviour could be regarded as subjective. I mean, I trust you, and I believe that you and I roughly see kindness, tolerance, open-heartedness, willingness to serve others. You know, I reckon there are some values that feel universal. But when the ideas of good behaviour and bad behaviour are dictated by a globalist entity that was never elected and is funded by a set of individuals that have a clear agenda, the good and bad behaviour that they devise will obviously be in alignment with those principles and their preferred outcomes. And doesn't that good and bad behaviour league table thing that they're trying to establish sound a little bit like social credit score? And didn't they say they would never do that, and that the technology of vaccine passports would never be used as a platform for further instruments of control? And now that you see that powerful individuals in public are going out and not worrying too much about whether or not they get COVID, we've got a video on that, doesn't it seem that there could be an additional, separate, another agenda for the reason that all these controls are being introduced? I'm not saying it's definitely true. I'm posing the question to you. Hit me up in the comments below. Concurrently, Bill Gates has called for a global surveillance GERM team to spot future pandemic threats and potentially enact lockdowns. I think at that point it ceases to be a coincidence and starts to become a plan for global dominance. Coincidentally, we've come up with this plan and they've come up with this plan. And who funds them? I do. It's come out the same week. Bill Gates with his little book about, here, in case there's another pandemic, here's what to do. WHO, governments, just do this. Bill's got a book out. At least give it a couple of weeks. Like, if you've just used a toilet, I'd give it 15 minutes if I was you. We're just doing a conspiracy in there. Over the past decades, the world's richest man has become the World Health Organization's second biggest donor, second only to the United States and just above the United Kingdom. The result, say his critics, is that Gates' priorities have become the WHO's. Rather than focusing on strengthening healthcare in poor countries that would help, in their view, to contain future outbreaks like the Ebola epidemic, the agency spends a disproportionate amount of its resources on projects with the measurable outcomes Gates prefers. Also, we remember that during the COVID-19 pandemic, they wouldn't rescind patents so that African nations could manufacture vaccines, which they said were the solution to the problem. So, as well as just solving the problem, there seems like there could be a monetizable, or at least a control component that is at odds with the let's get this vaccine to as many people as possible. So it seems like there are some conflicting objectives, and that Bill Gates has got an incredible amount of influence over the WHO. And what we're suggesting here, or what's being suggested here, is that WHO have the ability to legally bind nations beyond democratic influence. That means your influence. If you think Bill Gates is one of the most influential people in the world with regard to health policy right now, imagine his influence and power if this goes through. In 2021, the world's leading health organisation, the WHO, repeatedly broke its own rules and spent millions of dollars on high-priced management consultants, according to a new independent audit, even as the United Nations agency has struggled to pay for equipment and vaccines in its global COVID-19 response. The agency paid the consultants a total of $11.7 million, enough to buy 600,000 COVID-19 vaccines. Have you got any money, buddy? I'm down to my last consultant. We've employed quite a lot of consultants. It turns out that what it says here, we're wasting money. What on? Consultants. Revelations of the Gates Foundation's financial stake in COVID-19, which Bill Gates does not appear to have publicly disclosed in dozens of recent media appearances, speak to broader criticisms about the lack of transparency in the foundation's increasingly central role in the pandemic. And this is an NHS doctor. The NHS is the publicly funded British healthcare system. The WHO is currently preparing an international agreement on pandemic prevention, preparedness and response. We believe the public must be furnished with the full ramifications of what and how any pandemic treaty could affect them. Seems fine. And be given a public vote on whether the UK should sign up before the UK government signs up to this. Sounds perfectly reasonable so far, unless you don't want people to know, unless you don't want people to vote, unless you don't like democracy. Do not sign any WHO pandemic treaty unless it's approved via public referendum. We want the government to commit to not signing any international treaty on pandemic prevention and preparedness established by the WHO unless it's approved through public referendum. There's a link in the description to that petition for UK citizens or people living in the UK. And if you have any petitions in your own countries, tell us and we'll post them on social media for you, because we believe on this channel, and we call it Stay Free Media here, that we are truly in this together. We believe that we should truly build back better, that we should decentralise power any possible, that you should be in charge of your own life, you should be in charge of your own community, you are intelligent enough to make decisions about your own health, your own body, your own community, your own education, everything. You should be running it yourself. You're flawed, you're fallible, but, the people leading, they're perfect. Oh, yeah, Joe Biden, you can see that guy. He's fine. Boris Johnson, yeah, no problem with him. Macron, great guy. Nothing to worry about there. So as long as we know they're not perfect, we don't have to be perfect either. So, yeah, what I believe in is democracy. Your ability to decide what happens in your own life. I don't know, is that controversial? Let me know in the comments below. Please sign up to my mailing list. I've got a one-day event with Wim Hof, which will be sure to awaken you and improve your health. We've also got some big announcements coming that I definitely want you to be a part of. Sign up to that mailing list. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these ones. Sign that petition if you're a UK resident. Send us petitions in the comments below if your country has one already, because this is going to be global, so it is coming to your country. More important than any of that, but also somewhat connected to it, stay free.